It's because you care about people and they want to be led by you. 100X leaders have nothing to fear, nothing to prove, nothing to hide. Authenticity. Like, they know what they need. We're lighting a fire in them, not under them. We're not as good of a communicator as we think we are. We do not communicate as well as we think we do.
And I think mine, like, honestly, the past few episodes has come back to authenticity. And it's something I'm very passionate about. I have a hard time separating my work and my life, home life. It all meshes together. You don't have to be the jack of all trades. So when you take this quiz and you discover your 5 voices, know that there was no wrong answer in that whole thing. And what you bring to the table is certainly enough. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Carpool Conversations. We are here at Auto Care Connect in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Hot, but beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm here with our president and CEO, Bill Hanvey.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Jackie.
This is fun. What a treat. You're on my show now.
I know.
So now you're going to be on Bezad's show, and now you're on mine, so you can tell me which one you like better.
Of course.
I already know.
Right.
You already know. And then we'll have to get you on Stacy's show. Get you on the data show. Mm-hmm. It'll be a blast. And we have with us, too, Shawn Collins, who is with Extend Group. And, Shawn, I'm going to let you just explain a little bit to the audience about what you do, and then we'll kind of introduce the topic here of this episode.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Extend Group, we believe in culture, communication, and community. We've been around for 18 years. We actually started in the communication space, digital tech, back in the aftermarket days of the catalog wasn't even integrated into the website. And then we integrated the catalog into the website and then built the mobile apps and then the VIN scans and then built all those things. But what I found over the years is we've helped a lot of people build a lot of beautiful rocket ships. They didn't know how to fly because they
yikes.
Yeah, they're entrepreneurs and they're future voice leaders, and they have a vision, and they're willing to work nonstop for 122 hours and just keep going. But then it gets to a point where, are you the operator owner? So long story short, we were a communicate execute company for really the first. When I say communicate execute, it's here's the vision, get it done, without really getting to know who all of our people were. And I really didn't know this until I met an individual, a friend and a colleague and a neighbor that was in the aftermarket space. And he let me know that I was a creative pioneer. I'm like, what does that mean? And that changed the shape of where I'm at today, because I am still at my natural state from an Extend Group. We want to hear we want to listen, we want to educate, and we want you to win. Mm-hmm. Get out of the way. But really, if we don't know who you are and who your customer is and what are their tendencies and what are their preferences and how they like to communicate, we can't build a community. Mm. So I went deep in, as I do most things. It's the next thing and the next thing. It kind of looks like these audio waves on the wall. Like, oh, what's the next mountain I get to climb and tackle it and check it off the list? But this is the one that sticks, mm-hmm. because all that effort and all those time, you can't really build a community if you don't know your people. And we can all know the tools, and we know even in the digital world, like even talking about Adobe and Adobe, I mean, now we have Canva and all the other stuff that's replacing all that stuff that we spent all those years in. It's just kind of the next thing. But it's really, we're still trying to communicate with people. And if we don't have culture and we don't have mission, vision, core values, and we don't know how those resonate, and we don't know what our brand personality is and archetype, and then we don't know who our customer avatars are, then what are we building other than, a rocket ship that we wanted to go fly on, but we thought other people would want to, and then we get to the end and we're burnt out and our checking account's at zero.
Yeah.
You're right.
Communication in general, so we're going through the 10 pillars of professional growth, really for individuals. But obviously communication is a huge one and very broad. And you could talk about communication within your organization. You can talk about communication in your culture. You can talk about it out to your customer. There's a lot of different ways you can take this. But today we're really focusing on like a professional development in a professional development sense. Yep. And that's really where Giant comes in with their 5 voices that we were going to talk about.
Yes.
And Bill, you're a huge, you constantly talk about communication. Mm-hmm. It's a huge pillar of your leadership style.
Right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that and why you feel so passionate about it?
Well, I just think, communication works both ways. And I think people realize, people always associate communication with presentations, written, oral. But the most important part of the communication is the listening part. And that's something that was ingrained in me as a journalism student. So my background is communications. I'm a mass comm graduate and have always been fascinated by the give and take and asking questions and developing a story from there and learning about people and learning about situations. So that's so critical for an organization. It's critical for our organization. We have to listen to so many different types of feedback and process many different aspects of our industry and boil that down for our members, for them to be able to understand it and for them to be able to take action on it. So it's and that's why when we interview people for our team, that's a critical component is how do they communicate? Do they listen? And it's an ever ending project.
Yeah, and you can tell it really comes from the top at Auto Care Association, and I really think as one of especially one of the newer employees of the Auto Care Association, you really do a great job of making everybody feel heard, or having that line of communication to leadership. And just being able to know that you feel heard is a wonderful culture, because you just don't feel like you're getting lost. You feel like your voice is getting heard. You feel like you're adding value. You feel like your value is getting seen. And that's a hard thing to accomplish with how many employees we have? 40?
45.
45. Yeah. So,
wonderful.
Obviously it gets harder the bigger the organizations get, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you're here. So for those in the audience who are not familiar with the 5 voices and with Giant, maybe we go through those. What exactly are the 5 voices and what are they used for? And then maybe we'll get into some depth there.
Right. So Giant Worldwide has been around for 15 years. Started by Jeremy Kubicek and Steve Cockrum. And both of Steve is a Myers-Briggs doctorate, and Jeremy is an experiential. He had LeaderCast and Connect and a bunch of other leadership events. And what they found was, with DISC, there's the big 5. There's DISC, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, all the different letters and numbers. And what we found is, those things are great, but and there's a place for all of them. But we're in a different world today. We need things that are viral quickly. We need infographics that are quick that people can pick up on. And they really said there's 60 plus Myers-Briggs breakdowns. And it's when you get there, okay, even when you get to an INTP, okay, most people know introvert, extrovert, and then it goes south after that, right? So you don't really want to be talking to me, right? There's automatically a label that's associated with it instead of a language. So what Giant is really, we talk about a leadership language that everybody has to learn and really come down to, okay, when I say nurture, it means this. When I say connector, it means this. You're not just one, you're all 5. 1, 2, 3 are things that energize you. 4 is your blind spot. 5 is the thing that you don't like doing. And you typically don't connect right off the bat with those individuals. But if we really get to know that person, they're the ones that actually expedite our learning and self-awareness the quickest. The nemesis voice, if you will. But there's 5 instead of 60, right? And there's the nurturer, creative, connector, guardian, creative, and the pioneer. And each one of those represents a future voice or a present voice. And some are future forward and they can see it. and they go after it. And then there's the present voices, and they're about relationships and systems and processes, and honor the past as you move forward to the future. And then you have, the future voices that are also, they're typically the best communicate. Well, they're actually what people perceive as the best communicators. But they're only 18%. So the connector and pioneer only represent 18% of the population, but they lead 82%. And if we lead them accidentally, then guess what? 82% of people are walking around either burnout, tired, they don't feel appreciated, and they're looking for their next gig. Because they're like, you just walk around accidentally thinking everybody's like you. Not like Bill, because, Bill's naturally wired that way. And then, with nurture, he went through education, and it taught him, like, we need to ask deep probing questions. But we're in such a I get information and I'm automatically going to innovate as leaders. Like, oh, I just watched that YouTube video. Now I'm going to go build my, I'm going to go build my 69, Camaro, and I'm going to do it all by myself. No, like, that takes some time. You need to be able to do that over an extended period of time. But each one of the voices, the nurturers are the quietest, creative, very quiet voice. Guardians will speak up either way, whether they're happy or they're not happy with the situation. Connectors are passionate communicators that want to bring people together and be the bee pollinator that I was talking about earlier. And then the pioneers just like, give me your problem and get out of my way. And I'm generally talking about this, but there are so many nuances of each one of these voices. But 5 Voices for Teams is actually a year-long system that we install, because Giant's not just leadership vocabulary; it's neuro-linguistic tools. Like we're talking about communication today. Mm-hmm. There's a tool in this toolkit. This is like 80 plus neuro-linguistic tools that we teach self-awareness through. And when you talk about communication, are you a transmitter or are you a receiver naturally? And what 5 Voices will tell us is the nurturer and the guardian are receivers. Like, they want to really process and know that you care. Like, the nurturers want to know that you care about the people and what it's going to do to them when you install this new strategy that's going to change the world. Like, well, have you done this before? What happened to the people who's done it? Like, do you understand where our current workload is today? And how's that really going to impact the work-life balance and the culture that we've worked so hard to develop? Because most leaders come in and they're there for 3 to 5 years, and they kind of just wait the next one out, right? If the leaders aren't intentional. And the guardians are like, oh, that's all great. You guys have all this innovation, but where's your tactics and
where's your process?
Where's your process and where's your checklist? And this is a huge gamble. Don't you understand what we're throwing away? Like, we got here, we are where we're at as a successful organization because we were tried and true, developed a process, delivered it to our customers, and have communicated that so well. And now you want to change it because you see this future thing. It's a gamble. Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to run a pilot program first. And I want to know, who are the resources and who's really going to have the authority and responsibility to run this, because I know it's not going to be you. I want to know that you're doing it with us, not to us. And that's where we can sometimes get into trouble. And then connectors, a lot of, can see a lot of individuals, see a lot of passion in the eyes, and want to connect them with what actually, they want to know who the person is quickly, what they have to offer, what their life goals are, and they want to connect them to organizations and things and go. So they have icons. They're little infographics that show what they are. And then pioneers, like I said, they just, give me a problem and let me scale this mountain super efficiently. And, they're the loudest of all the voices. We all have superpowers, and we all have kryptonite, and we all have, weapon systems that tear others down. Mm-hmm. And if we're not like us and we're accidental leaders, why don't you get it? This is where we got to, like, if you walk into the room every day without, okay, it's 8:05 a.m. And do you have my report yet, Stacy? And did you get that email that I sent last night at midnight? And she's like, I just got in. Like, I just sat down at my desk and, we had a ball game last night, and you know what? We had breakfast with the whatever we're doing. Well, I need my report now.
That is so funny. It's kind of like a very good tactical, like everyday use of this, because I've never worked somewhere where niceties or such a thing. Like, I'm kind of like a pioneer in that sense where I'm tend to be down to business. And I don't know if that's because it's my personality or because it's my training from maybe a previous role. But like when I get, somebody on the phone or I get them, their attention on Teams, I just ask them for what I need so that they can move on with their day and I don't bother them too much.
But
people want to know.
They do.
Ask me how my weekend was.
And for me, I think it's important to spend that time, even if it's a minute or two, to read the room.
Yes.
To see, okay, how's the mood here? How's Jacki? Is it okay to push? Is it not okay to push? And to do a quick read on that before we get down to business. Because I think, for me personally, that's how I read the room. Is the relative, and I don't see I don't think the small talk should go on for 10 minutes, right? I don't want to hear about your banana bread recipe, but there is important things to talk about so that you can judge the room, see where that individual is at, in order for you to get to get more information or to move things along more quickly.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I talk a lot about art and science and really this relationship piece and self-awareness. Like, this is all tools that you like. Jacki said, I don't want to know your banana, or you said, I don't know your banana bread recipe and all those things. Yeah, there's a time for second gear conversation. There's a time for third gear conversations, which is we're just all in the room having a good time, celebrating our wins. And then there's fourth gear meetings and getting things done as we multitask. And fifth gear is behind the door. And there's just so many tools that are with it. But if we all operate from what we think is natural, as you will see, like, connectors, 11%, just 11% think like you do.
Yeah.
Right. And people do business and like working for people that they like. 11% of the population, pioneers, only 7. Connectors and pioneers typically are the leaders of organizations because of the way in which they passionately communicate. But then you look at the nurturers and the guardians, they represent 73% of the population.
And that's who you really need to be communicating to usually.
And, there's always a trick question that we throw out there. Who's the most effective communicator? And not everybody, but a lot of individuals will immediately go, oh, it's the it's either connector or the pioneer, because it's just the way they talk. They love, love having the stage and love being able to talk about vision. But guess what? When they speak, there's only 11% in the room that are like them.
Yeah.
So if you were really to slow it down and go, if my nurturers and guardians really trusted that we know our mission and we know our vision and we know our core values and we're upholding them daily and we're caring for our people, and, it's not vision or else, and our guardians know that this is just not another initiative that's going to come and go, and we're going to waste all this time and effort, and then we're going to come back to what they already knew, they will communicate and connect with so many more people initially right out of the bat, right out of the box, because so many people in the room are like them. It's calibrating your communication for what's in the room. Like, we always talk about connect. I heard there's 1,000 people here, right?
Yep.
So when you think about that, how what's 11% of 1,000? So if we're all up there preaching vision and where we can go and all this technology and all this innovation and AI and whatever it is, and we have a lot of nurturers and guardians in the room that really are the guardians of process and systems and people, they're like, this is just another one of those hype videos.
Yeah, and really, guardians would probably be more resistant to change, I would assume.
Resistant
so, like,
change.
Think like the massive part of the population may not like what you're saying if you're not talking at their level and maybe breaking it down at that process level and showing that you're thinking of those things that are important to like a guardian.
Yeah. And as a business and as an organization and as a leader, think about like how much energy that we put into going to a show and the time we put into building our keynotes and the subject matter that's going to go around it and the theme of our event and all those things. And most of the time, if it's not a self-aware leader, the nurturer and guardian have never looked at that presentation.
They are looking at the individual giving that presentation?
They have never really probably reviewed, unless they're a proofreader or something.
Right.
They've never even seen what the CEO is out, talking about and communicating when, like, this goes back to a long time ago. We talked about it before we started. Like, that's the way, our career went so quick. It was like web and this and like web and then connected catalog and then mobile apps and then YouTube videos and then, content is king and you have to have the downloadable PDFs and you have to do it like boom, 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 boom. And we did all of that in 3 years. And I went to a trade show or actually a conference with one of my peers and he said, you will understand that, because I was kind of on him. I said, why aren't you we bring it. Like, you ask me for strategy every year, and we build this in-depth, like there is not another presentation out there I know that looks like this. The amount of content, the amount of technology, the amount of data tracking and all that's in it. He said, what you don't understand is if I were to buy that today, it would sink my ship because I don't have the staff and content to help you. The sales team has no clue how to use that. Financially, we're already out this for innovation next year. And I was upset as a creative pioneer. I took it a little personally that they would only take like 10% of the proposal every year. And I would go and spend thousands of dollars at conferences. And in 2015, talking about AR, VR glasses and HoloLens and training future technicians. Nobody was buying that. But that's what I was there to sell. Mm-hmm. And it was a huge blunder. Like, that was the broccoli, like Jeremy Kubicek, one of the founders, talks about what's the broccoli in your teeth and how long's it been there? Like, I just wanted to continually innovate. And even some of our people that have been with us for a while through Giant have said we could own the building that we're in instead of leasing it. If I would have just focused on that one little pillar and built amazing teams for that one instead of trying to build 10.
You're a pioneer.
Creative pioneer.
And creatives tend to be forward-looking and early adapters. So is that what we're talking about here?
Early
so you're like early
They're waiting
adopting
in line
these
for the
things.
iPhone for 2 days.
And like 90% of the population is like, I don't even want to think about that right now. I'm still trying to figure out the phone I have.
But
now.
does that 90% of the population need to know the why? And
yes, 100%.
Could much of this noise be eliminated if, when you communicate the why?
Oh, always.
Or communicate what is important to each of these voices, too. Like, so the nurturer is really going to want to hear that you thought about how this is going to affect the employees.
Yeah, just getting it.
Right?
Why do we have one campaign? Why don't we have 5?
Right.
Yeah. And then the guardian's really going to want to know, have you thought about all the processes? Have you crossed all the T's?
Who's done this before?
Yeah.
Is this a risk? Is this a gamble?
Yeah.
What does that look like? So it's really, when we talk about communication, we transmit. We're natural transmitters or we're receivers. So the question is, when people are transmitting to us, then we start thinking about, like, how do we process that? So immediately, like when people start transmitting things to me, there's really 5 things that they might be trying to, they say, they're really transmitting to me that they need care, they need clarity, they want collaboration, they want critique, or they want to celebrate. My default is always critique. Like, one of the creative's blind spots is that, we look at the 10% that's wrong instead of the 90% that's right. So immediately, this even happens at home. Like, my wife will want to just tell me what happened about the day and whatever else. And I'm trying to pull the whiteboard out and say, okay, now
your banana bread is dry.
Tell me all the symptoms that led up to this. And let's do a core on this. I just wanted you to hear me.
Mm-hmm. want you to listen. I don't want a
I
solution.
don't want you to fix anything.
Right.
But if we don't, in our customers, we're always about when, and they're like, I want to like you first. Like, I want to get to know you as a person. Like, don't just walk in and go, oh, I'm going to give you the best price at the best, and you're going to sign today, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we all know what the relationship cycle looks like. We don't, go on a date and get married.
Yeah.
But there are voice orders that if you are the most competent and you are the most credible, why wouldn't you buy from me? Mm-hmm. And if you don't, I'm taking it personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just to give a couple more examples of how some of these different voices can play out in real life. My first voice was a connector, and
yes.
so is Bill's.
Yep.
And we talked about a little bit of that on our pre-call, and some of it really hit home for me. And I wonder if it'll hit home for others. Unfortunately, what are my connectors? 11%, you said?
11%.
So maybe not the masses, but some people might get it. But I work with somebody who you said not to guess at people's voices, but I'm going to, because I'm pretty sure they are some kind of creator pioneer mix. I want them to take this test just to see, because you mentioned that connectors can kind of get a little bit offended at feedback, and even take something that like a pioneer might say, be very direct, and we take it to heart and like it was against us when it wasn't. And that opened up my eyes, because this person I work with will go on and be like, look what this company is doing. They're not saying that I'm doing anything wrong. They're not saying that I'm doing a terrible job, but I immediately think I'm doing a terrible job and I'm going to get fired if I don't figure this out. And clearly I'm in the wrong, whatever.
You're all good, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it shows like my communication style is clearly different. And I need somebody to tell me, I love what we're doing. I just saw what this person's doing too, though. That's pretty cool. Like, maybe we should look into it.
Yeah.
But I just need to hear, like, you like what I'm doing. Then I can relax, and then I can listen to your feedback and do something with it, right?
What Jacki is talking about is liberating leaders fight for the highest possible good of those they lead. Like, that's our call. And what you're talking about is how we actually calibrate the support and challenge. Like, support is like, you're doing things well, and I'm here to help. And what do you need from me? Challenge is, deadlines, is budgets, is real scalable results. And a lot of times the connector, it's hard to separate work-life balance. Mm-hmm. So what we talk a lot about is we have to learn to calibrate the support and challenge for each individual in the room, not just because I want to get to all data analytics and are we winning, yes or no. It's knowing Jacki and knowing she's doing an amazing job on air and everything that she does, I need to give a little sugar before I hit the vinegar.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I need to go, we are doing this, and I did notice, and here are some things that I would like to see. So nurturers, we have to lead with support, because they already don't think that they're good enough. Mm-hmm. It can seem that way. They're always trying to take care of everybody else. Mm-hmm. So I don't really have time to work on me. And I could be, everybody else is, you deserve the promotion. You deserve the promotion. Why are you looking at me that I'm getting the promotion? Well, it's because you care about people and they want to be led by you. Well, no, Bill, he's in here all the time. Like, he's winning the awards. Yeah, but the people wanted you because you care. So the nurturer and the connector, we have to lead with a lot of support before we hit them with challenge. Mm. If you sit around with me all day long and throw all of the kind stuff that we're doing, I'm going to go, this is not a challenge for me. I don't need the niceties. Tell me what you want me to do and get out of my way. Mm. But, we have to be intentional with all of that. There's accidental and there's intentional. So if we continue to walk in the room and just think that everybody's just like me and I'm calibrating my support and challenge the way, okay, numbers are down, Google Analytics on, web traffic last night alone was down 3%. Why? Wait, what? Like, like you're coming in today and you're talking about 3%. Like, you forgot about how far we've come and we're up 20. Yeah. How did we get there? Yeah.
Right.
Why the tension? Well, there might have been a phone call that I received from my boss, or a customer had called and I just walked in accidentally kind of still feeling what I had heard back there, not happy, and accidentally went to where I just naturally, you never graduate from the school of self-awareness, really.
No.
So what we have to remember is in that the toughest times, oh, wait a minute, I got to pause. I got to look. I got to know. There was a lot that's been done in this last 6 months before I go in this room and blow it all up. And I'm going to have to spend 4 weeks going in reverse to try to put everybody back together because 3% of web traffic was down last night. It took you a long time to get there. Yeah. And now it's going to take you 4X to go build it back because now they're going to go, that was all transactional. All the nice stuff you said was transactional until, the bad thing happened. And then, he's right. He said he's going to change. But then when the stuff hits the bricks, then we're right back to it.
You really have to think about how this plays out in a bunch of areas of your life too, right? Not just professional.
My wheels are churning right now. Even about this week, I've got many different types of presentations to many different groups. And it's really, it's eye-opening for me in terms of tailoring your message, tailoring your listening to the audience, and then communicating that back out to where those different types of groups, all of which could be able to get something from that piece of communications.
I'm even thinking about
I have to start all over.
I'm even thinking about my husband.
Sure.
I'm
yes.
And you mentioned self-awareness, right? So a huge part of it too is now I know this about myself. So now I know when somebody's not communicating in my language to not take that personally and to be able to see those characteristics in somebody else and know okay, they're not giving me feedback right now. They're just literally saying a statement, right? And I know that now and I can move on, So it's a self part of it. It's also a communicating out part of it. But I'm also just thinking my husband, now I want to know what he is. And, maybe a lot of the stuff he says that I take offense to, maybe I don't need to be, and you can really use this in every area of your life. Obviously, communication.
Oh, for sure.
Well, as I said earlier, you never graduate from the school of self-awareness, but you have to understand that it all starts with you. But then most people immediately go, well, it's myself and then work. Actually, there's a tool that we have in this playbook that's called the 5 circles of influence. And you have to be intentional from the inside out. And it has to start with you. And then it goes to your family. And then most organizations, when you start your career, you start on a team somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you have to really care for your team and those around you that are all in it, in the trenches with you. And then you can worry about the company and then be a part of a community. A lot of times you'll see the individuals that are very self-aware and their peace index is 98 and they're active in the community, but they're accidental at home. They're accidental with their team. They show up to report to top management. But if top management would go back and actually talk to the team and say, what kind of leader is this individual when they're not in the room, it's a different story. Mm-hmm. They're not showing up, they're doing it to the team, not with the team, communicating a lot of things and expecting the team will just take care of it because they're taking care of themselves. They're out in the community. They're reporting back to leadership. But the family and the team that really supports them will eventually collapse, or you'll collapse. So if you look at who's accidental and who's intentional, even with self-care, if you're not, you can't give what you don't possess. So if you're running around and your energy is we say hope meter or whatever is at 20 and you're leading a team of 40, how are you leading them up this mountain? If you're at 20% health,
right?
Your son, your daughter, your wife, this is how are they? They're there. They're your pillars outside. They're going to be there for you with or without the job and that nonprofit seat that you.
And your mental health, is as important.
It definitely affects how you communicate,
without question,
and how you receive,
right? And it affects the way you conduct your business on a daily basis. And some people are having a bad day. And to your point on self-awareness, I think that that's something that, I personally try to work on in terms of, am I physically healthy? Am I mentally healthy? How can I, continue to do that? Because I want to do this for a long time, and I enjoy it, and I want to be there for my team. I want to be there for my family. So the mental and the physical aspect are so important, I think, Shawn.
Yeah, if your energy level's at 15 and you're carrying an extra 500 pounds of baggage, and then you have 10 people reporting to you,
right?
How are you showing up for them? You're not, and they're looking at you going, you're an accident. Like, you can't. I don't know that I want to show up and go to battle with you today,
right?
Like, are you going to be there to support me, or am I going to be carrying you across the finish line?
Right? Are you totally stressed out? And
yeah, and is this going to be just another emotional outburst because you're drained?
Mm-hmm.
And if we are not looking and calibrating it for the room and making sure that we're healthy, our family's supported, and they're there for us at home and know that we're there, right. Instead of walking through, my daughter has a rough day at school, and, just 1 minute, honey, I've got to send this email, and I walk by, and she really needed her dad in that one moment.
Right.
So one of the tools that we have is a whole system. It's called 5 gears, and it's being able to calibrate your day and your calendar for intentional relationship building. But part of that is communication, right? So going back to how we communicate, when we communicate, seeking clarity. So communication, we talk all the time about, are you being subjective or are you objective? Subjective is a feeling. I'm feeling this way. You're not bringing whatever, An objective is, we know what good means. Instead of me walking around, Jacki, how are you doing? What's your typical response?
I'm good.
Bill, what's your response?
Just fine, thank you.
Okay, so
you're more polite than me.
So what does that mean, though? Like, so I can automatically tell that it's good as, it's okay, but there could be something better. Well, let's know what good as an organization really means. Let's know what winning really means. And let's know what, when you need critique, tell me you need critique. When you need collaboration, be willing to step up and understand that there's going to, I might not buy into your full vision, because when you say collaboration, that means we're shaping it together. Mm-hmm. Not, I'm just going to praise your idea and move on. Mm-hmm. Right? Or, you know what? I just wanted to tell you this and have us celebrate for 10 minutes instead of immediately hearing it and then critiquing it. Yeah. When that person had just spent 4 weeks working in, whether it's the report, the pitch, the data, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, I'm already critiquing it, and I didn't take 1 minute to celebrate the 4 weeks that they were looking at. Mm-hmm. And how often do you have monthly celebrations? Do you have quarterly celebrations? Do you have annual celebrations as a team to really talk about those things? Do you do it at home? Do you do it for yourself?
Nope. I never celebrate anything.
Right. I do.
I'm on to the next thing before I finish the one, I think.
Do. Yeah.
Good for you.
But
I don't feel like I ever
not
do.
In a huge way, but...
No. But at least you acknowledge it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because we just had our 50th episode last week? 2 weeks ago? And I kind of was trying that week to we're already on to how we're making this bigger and better, right? This podcast. But it's we really do need to sit. I had to sit back for a second and just appreciate how far we've come, because I will just keep going on to the next thing and never really look back and appreciate anything.
But right here, you have a connector, creative nurturer, and a connector, creative pioneer. Mm-hmm. See the difference? Naturally, Bill's you know what? I want to take a minute and just celebrate what that is,
point, right?
In the natural state. Mm-hmm. But on the other side of it, that pioneer and that creative and that guardian side just steps in and says, we can do it better, or we wasted this amount of time, or whatever it is, when we're just running with scissors.
Yeah.
In our natural state, not understanding that not everybody's like us. And that's one thing that I have not done well, is celebrate. We have an award hall. I think we were talking about NCMA, ACPN. I have a gold, bronze, and silver wall of those things. And then I have a lot of women in auto care awards. But we came back from Industry Week and we didn't celebrate those. It was like, which one, like, how are we going to top this? And these are all broccoli in my teeth thing. And it got really hard when how do you top that? Like, we were going to, Apex and Women in Auto Care, and we walk away with 6, 7 Women in Auto Care awards. Mm-hmm. And there's brands that spend their entire year and they were walking away with 1 or 2 and going, and they were celebrating them,
Sure.
And I was like, we should have one more. Like, how much is enough? One more.
Right.
And I wasn't spending the time with my people to really honor all their talents.
What's your blind? So there's 2 things I want to make sure we get to in the episode. One of them is blind spots.
Blind spots.
Which I'm curious what yours is. And then I also want to just talk a little bit about nature versus nurture. Yeah. And like, can you change your voice? Like, if you don't like it, or are you born with it, or what point in your life are you like, okay, this is 100% what you are for the rest of your life? So I want to just start with the blind spots because that's kind of where we led. What is your blind spot then? Is it
connector?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I was thinking maybe nurture.
Connector is I went through this assessment like 12 times and fought really hard because I thought it was connector because I loved doing I thought I loved doing this part, but it's all about nurture. Through my entire life, I've had to show up and be just a little bit more. When the connector part of me was like, oh, I have 3,000 LinkedIn people and, we've got all these awards. I'm just going to call up Bill and he's going to give me a $100,000 contract this week. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like I would go in and like, well, I know that person and I know that person and we go to Connect and we go to this conference. I can call them up and we'll get the deal done in a week when they hadn't heard from me since the last Connect. Right? Or they hadn't heard from me since the last Apex 9 months ago. And I'm just knocking on doors going, hey, we got a pitch for you. They're like, where you been? Like last time I saw you were buying me an old fashioned at whatever, whatever it was.
And so interesting. And so what was your blind spot, Bill? What was your 4th voice? Your 4th voice is your blind spot.
Guardian.
So that's all systems, processes, and really love being in the everyday operations of how everything operates. And if you get unhealthy, you start asking a lot of people why they're not pulling their weight to make sure that deadline's not met. So,
but when it's your blind spot, what does that mean? It means you think you're good at it.
Yeah, you think strategically in your mind, I can do this, and I can do it every day. But what we find is your 1 through 3 are things that energize you. Mm-hmm. So your 1 is your unconscious competence. Like people just know that's who you are and that's what you do. And you can just do it while you're doing 20 other things. It's like hit the microphone. Like I've never done this before. And then and then you go, and your second one is you have to switch a little gear. It's your conscious competence. You know you're good at it, but you have to shift a little gear to get there. But it also supports number 1. And then your 3, you have to shift your focus and actually plan for it. But it's energizing to you, and you like doing it. Mm-hmm. You get to 4. And if you really think about it and you sit down, and if you had to do that, let's say 30 hours a week, how healthy would you be? Would you want to be in that seat in 5 weeks, in 10 weeks, in 4 months, in a year? If you had to do that, could you do it? And a lot of times, and how well would you do it? Mm-hmm. And if you went to your peers, they would tell you not to do it. Because they're the ones that are holding back because of you haven't built enough influence with them for them to really tell you the truth. This is all about truth. This is like, they are afraid of losing something. They're trying to hide something. They're trying to prove something. They're not telling you you're not good at it because they're afraid of the emotional outburst or how you might respond to it.
But do you hire to those blind spots?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So that's...
Absolutely.
Be self-aware, right?
Yes.
But then being able to hire for those blind spots and those weaknesses. And you know, that's what makes an incredibly strong team too.
You should have a well-balanced team. You should have, if you don't have people on your team that match every voice, you should have an advisory council that actually sits and represents each one of the. If you really want to say that
That's
you're
a great way to look at it. Yeah.
like, you have to, like those presentations that I'm talking about. Like when I do a presentation now, first person to look at it is a guardian or a nurturer. And I'm like, oh my, there's red stuff all over it and questions everywhere. And then, you know, then it goes to the guardian and then there's more questions. And they're like, so I got to fix this. Mm-hmm. Even though guardian's my third, I'm like, this isn't going to be fun to talk about. Like, this isn't going to light a fire, you know, in the room. And then I finally give it back to the connector. And then the pioneer is the last one to look at it. But I'm calibrating it for the room now and how it's going to land instead of how much fun it is for me to go talk about it. Most of the time, it's like a snooze fest for me to want to go talk about some of these things, but it's what the people want to hear and that they can connect with, and they know that it's meaningful and it's validated and it's trusted instead of this is an innovative thing.
Yeah, it's like the
new hot thing.
It's just, I think the blind spot is so interesting. Like my blind spot is nurturer, and I would have thought it would not be, because I do care a lot about people and stuff. But what you told me was that you think you're good at it. You might think you're better at it than you are.
Yeah.
And what I get out of that is like, I might care a lot about people. I might want to help them a lot, but I'm busy prioritizing other things. And maybe I'm not reaching out as much as I feel like I am, or I'm not making people feel like I care as much as I do care. I'm not communicating that correctly.
Well, and they will tell you, I mean, once again, that blind spot is, how much time do you love like being with people, just hearing like second gear conversations, which is just personal talk and where they're going and where their life's at and what that means, and versus being in third gear, which is a lot of celebration, a lot of rallying. You know, you shouldn't be talking about work in third gear, but it's that celebration and where we can go next and what it looks like.
Maybe it's part of not being able to separate my work and my life.
Oh, it's in your relationships, do you really want to go 30,000 leagues below the sea? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to be up here at like 10,000 and know a whole bunch of 10,000 stories?
Okay, I see.
If you know a whole bunch of 10,000 stories, but you don't know like all the little details and like maybe what those individuals are going through and what they're experiencing. And if you keep hearing those conversations and they drain you, you're like, oh, I don't want, I can't.
Right.
Rescue
me.
Bad.
I know.
Connecting me is like, no, that's not how I am.
Right.
But, and how often do you multitask when people are talking to you? The nurturer will stop. You know, one that is healthy and self-aware in those moments, like it will be stopped and care will be provided and all those things. Whether, wait a minute. I mean, I need care. Well, give me 3 minutes. I got to finish this email and I will have my phone in my hand. Like some people lead that way.
Yeah, this is such good self-awareness like we've been talking about. It's just good to know these things about yourself. And I want to hit on, before we kind of wrap it up, I really want to hit on nature versus nurture. Tell the audience, like, so if you, like, I just heard that apparently I don't care about people and I don't want to know your problems, apparently. So, like, how much of this can you improve on or change, or should you, or are you what you are and you got to deal with it? What is it?
You never graduate from it. And it's the hardest thing to be able to do. There's nature, and it's who you are and what you want to do, and it's how you're naturally wired. But there's nurture as well, and it's what your mentors have taught you. It's what your parents have taught you. It's what your teachers have taught you. It's what society has taught you. And the question is, which one is leading you? I mean, it's the story of, you know, you have a creative connector or a creative pioneer or something, and they go into accounting. You know, or they're more of a relationship, so a connector and a nurturer, and they go into, and you know what, tax season, they're in the trenches for 5 months, right? And it's like, I haven't had any energy. So you have to know which one's leading you. And if you really want to be healthy, you have to go. What we try to do is we say, we're going to fight for your highest possible good. Like maybe we have already assessed your blind spot, know what you're where you're at, and we're going to find a place where we celebrate you. Like cultures and communications, like a greenhouse. It's not just one level in a greenhouse. There's 3 different levels, and each level is humidity, shade, temperature controlled. So the bottom is colder, a lot of shade. You get a lot of light, but you get a lot of water and you get a lot of sunlight. The top is like just burn it, it's hot, it's humid, whatever it is, not a lot of. And then 5 voices is the care card. Like if we really want to care for our people, we go, nurture, first voice. We have to spend some more second gear time with them, and we know that they're about values and they're the champion of people. Why are they over here doing not that they can't do that task, because none of this is like, we cannot use this as a label. The worst thing we can do is weaponize it and make it like Jacki just said, obviously I'm horrible at wanting to learn. No,
Nurturing.
I've done a poor job, because like immediately it went to a label state of, connectors really don't want to care about. Like we want it to be a language where people really understand what everyone's superpower is. And we're empowering Bill to do what he does, Jacki to do what she does, Stacy, Shawn, and we are a team fighting for each other's highest possible good. And we're running a business at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we're not putting Jacki in a place where it puts her upside down, where she's doing like 70% of her day, she's doing things that drain her. That's not healthy. Then she's going home and she's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And then she's out in the community and she looks drained, and they're like, maybe you might want to consider another place of employment if it's really doing that to you, right? So your community will tell you if these things are happening. Your closest peers will tell you. Mm-hmm. But we want to be in a place where we celebrate all those superpowers, and we know what drains you. And you still, we have a calculation of 70-30. We want you to do 70% of your day are things that energize you, 30% that drain you, because 30% is growth. It's the learning moments, the things where you're under pressure. You don't want to be the rechargeable battery in your laptop where it's been plugged in the conference room for 6 months, and then you take it and you go out in a meeting and it's dead in 30 seconds under stress because it wasn't plugged in.
Yeah.
So the blind spot and nature, can you change your voice? No. If you're honest with yourself, and we look at it as, you read the 100X Leader book. That was the one that we first connected and talked about. 100X leaders have nothing to fear, nothing to prove, nothing to hide.
Authenticity.
Like they know what they need. They know what they want. They know how frequently they can get there. They know who needs to be at the table.
The blind spots.
Their blind spots. They know what they don't like to do. They're not afraid to say to somebody, I'm not good at that. You're a superstar at it. Why wouldn't I elevate you? Mm-hmm. Right? In that communication. So when you talk about, can I change it? You shouldn't want to change it. We should want to celebrate Jacki and Bill and Stacy and Shawn for what we're really, really good at, and fight for their highest possible good, which means we calibrate, support, and challenge for them. We know where they want to go in their career, and we know where they're leaking influence with the team and in their community, and we're able to communicate that in such a way that they know that we're for them. We're lighting a fire in them, not under them.
Well said.
Really well said.
And as we wrap up, I would love to just go around and kind of make sure that we hit home on what do each of us really hope the one thing is that the audience walks away with today. But I do want to say, Shawn actually sent me 3 books, the 5 Gears, 5 Voices, and 100 Times Leader.
100X Leader.
I always say it wrong. 100X Leader. While I was laid off, actually. So I had some time when I went through them, and I was really fascinated by them. So I just want to encourage. We're going to have in our show notes a link to the assessment that we're talking about. It's free to take. Would really recommend that everybody take the time. It probably took 10 minutes, Bill, right? 10, 15 max?
Max.
It's quite a few questions, but it'll help.
It's intuitive.
It's intuitive. It's easy, quick questions, multiple choice, but you can go through it and actually discover your voice, and it will break it down kind of like what Shawn did today and kind of tell you like, what's your first voice mean, your second voice mean. It tells you kind of what your strengths and your weaknesses and things to work out or look out for. And I found it extremely eye-opening for me. So I just want to encourage everybody to take a look. And on that website is a lot of these other books, a lot of the other information about Giant.
Yes.
But
when you take the assessment, don't think when you're taking it, what would my wife think if I answered the question? Like, you have to really be in that self-aware state that this is how not how your boss wants you to respond to it, not how your best bud would want you to respond to it. You have to be in a place where you can be fully, like, take some time, take some meaningful moments to get into a place where I'm going to answer these questions often,
authentic.
I answered those questions overlooking the Grand Canyon. So it
could have been a better place.
It was meditative.
There
It
you
was
go.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It was quick, and it was no outside
Authentic you.
Did
Yep.
you learn stuff?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think the whole self-awareness piece is just fascinating for me. And I loved your question about nature versus nurture. And is self-awareness by nature? Are people self-aware, or is that something that you have to nurture? And
Good question.
right? And I'm still trying to figure
I
it
feel
out.
like the answer to that could be yes. Like you
Yeah.
probably naturally could be more self-aware, but you can definitely become more self-aware. Because I think I
should always work at it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I-
continuous evolution. I mean, can you change? Like, you should want to celebrate what you're really, really good at. And yeah, you could prove to somebody that you can get that job done, but how healthy is that going to make you long term? And how might you be holding the company back because, you did it once, but can you do it 42 times? Now you have to go. Now they have to hire somebody else to go and train you and educate them up, and then find another spot for you and all these other things. So you did it to prove that you could do it, but that's all. Yeah, I proved it. Okay, that's great. Now it's on to the next thing. When celebrate what you do. Find the organizations that celebrate the things that you're really good at. Grow in the spots that you're not. And that fifth voice, like, that's the person you should spend the most time with.
Woof, guardian for me. Oh,
You should spend the most time with your fifth voice. So mine is the nurturer. Yeah. I mean, I represent like 3.6% of the population.
Wow.
Like, when you break it down for like the INTP, I think it's like 3.6% of the population. I need those nurturers to go, whoa, we got to tap on it. Like, our people are gassed. We need celebration. We need care. We need moments. And we don't need rah moments. We don't need rah communication moments. We need real care moments. And we need real authentic celebration moments, because we've come a long way and we've done a lot of things.
So what's the one biggest takeaway that you hope, if they could only take away one thing, what are you hoping that is, Shawn? Biggest thing.
We're not as good of a communicator as we think we are. We do not communicate as well as we think we do. And if you do, ask the people around you. Everything in this book, in all 8 books that Giant has, and in 5 voices, 100X Leader, 5 Gears, Communication Code, Peace Index, it's great that you know it, or you think you know it, but do your people think the same thing? And a lot of times we walk around, we have that, hey, can I stop in? How am I doing? You got to have some tools. You got to have some objective tools that you put on. How am I leading in support challenge? Here's where I think I'm at. Give me honest and real feedback. And I'm not asking you to do it in 5 minutes. We're going to have a meaningful conversation on it. This is not a flyby. So I would hope that they know it's a long-term deal, and that we're not really as good at it as we think we are. And if we do think we are, and we don't need to move, just ask the 3 people down 3 offices and spend the time with them.
That's a good one.
Yep.
What about you, Bill? What do you hope people walk away with?
I hope that people walk away with a couple of things. First of all, creating a safe environment.
Yes.
Where everybody can exhibit their own type of communication method. I would love for people to come away with this to say, here's who I am, but here's who I can be. And here's who I need to be in this in this particular circumstance.
Yes.
And I think it changes, does it not, Shawn?
Well, you're calibrating, and you need to be in that moment for the team. But you also have to understand what that's doing to you for the long term.
Okay.
You can't be stuck in that.
No.
Like if it's a conversation that is something that you're not comfortable, like you can't keep doing it just to keep them, like at some point you're going to burn out. At some point you're going to abdicate because you're like, I can't take it to the team and they can't handle my support and they can't, or, they don't like the way I support them, or and you're going to burn out and you're going to get to where you're criticizing yourself all the time.
Right.
We have to always kind of be on the open communication of this is what we're doing. This is how we do it. This is how we show up. And there's accountability to it. Because if not, the leader gets unhealthy and then they check out and go to the next stop, or they just abdicate and say, I just can't find good people. And quite frankly, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think mine, honestly, the past few episodes has come back to authenticity. And it's something I'm very passionate about. I have a hard time separating my work and my life, home life. It kind of all meshes together. I have a really hard time hiding who I am these days. So I really preach, to just be yourself. And I love that the message here was really self-awareness, know who you are, know what makes you tick, know what you're not good at, and just know that that's okay. And you add a lot of value in a lot of other areas. You don't have to add value in every single one. You don't have to be the jack of all trades. So when you take this quiz and you discover your 5 voices, know that there was no wrong answer in that whole thing. And what you bring to the table is certainly enough.
Be happy.
That's great.
That
and celebrate.
One takeaway. Yeah.
Celebrate, Jacki.
Right.
One thing as a takeaway action item, when you learn all of your team in your next meeting, you have to let the connector or the pioneer or whoever it is can kick off the meeting, but the nurturers get to go first in response. Then your creatives, then your guardians, then your connectors, and then your pioneers.
Why do I got to be fourth?
Right.
You want to know.
Connector is already a
right. I know.
The action item is let the nurturers, creatives, and guardians go first. Yeah. Because our default as either connectors or pioneers is to be the first one to communicate, communicate, execute, instead of communication, relationship, and alignment. Communication, relationship, have healthy communication that builds honest and truthful, meaningful relationships, and they trust you, and they know you're willing to go there with them. You can get execution and capacity taken care of all day long if you handle those 3 things.
Okay.
Awesome.
Communication, relationship, trust.
Thank you guys so much for this conversation.
Shawn, I learned a lot. This was tremendous. And I learned a lot about you too, Jacki.
Yeah.
Jacki, thank you for...
Give me those words of affirmation.
Right. It's fantastic.
It means a ton that you invited me out to be on the podcast, and really appreciate all you do. And you've always been an influencer in all that you've done. You've done an amazing job at it, building a career, not just in social or on LinkedIn, but in the trenches with your people. You do an amazing job.
And you're
so much.
And you're in the perfect place to do that.
Oh, I agree. Thank you. The connector in me is very satisfied with the words of affirmation.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And Bill, you always crush it.
Oh, well, that's because I have people like Jacki and Stacy.
You're you're a liberating leader.
Oh,
I heard it in the conversations. Yeah.
I got a great team.
Wonderful.
All right, crew. Thank you.
Thank you.